don't understand.
Right, Council. Unfortunately, the Mayor has been taken ill, but she's improving, and I think it was all that rain we had at the weekend. So if you're listening in, Madam Mayor, we wish you a speedy recovery. Now she's left me a list. I've been asked to read this announcement on behalf of the Mayor. I'm sorry that illness prevents me from joining you in person this evening. But I am watching the live stream and wishing you all well. I'm grateful to Madam Sheriff for stepping in, for reading the following announcements on my behalf. You sure? On the 15th of February, a Mayor's Medal was awarded to Mark Cunningham on the 10th anniversary of the Sherborne Cinema for his outstanding service to the community of the King's Home, the Old City and beyond. On Sunday the 9th of March, there will be a commemorative event in Gloucester Park at 11 a.m. This marks 5 years since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. Oh, God bless them all. And will be a day to reflect on that time and to pay tribute to those who lost their lives. God bless them. And to those who helped so many during the lockdown. The civic service we had at the Cathedral on Sunday the 23rd of March. The final civic fundraiser of the Mayor's Year will now take place on Saturday the 17th of May, not the 26th of April. As previously announced, and I look forward to welcome as many as you possible on that occasion. Details to follow. Well, the details is to follow. Get yourself well and get back to this council. God bless you, Mayor. Thank you. This meeting is being live streamed on the council's YouTube channel. The recording of the meeting will remain online for 4 years. And if you are present in the chamber, you are consenting to appearing in records and broadcasts which may also be used for training purposes. Anyone else recording or filming from within the room must not obstruct the view of councillors, officers and public and press. That flash photography must not be used unless this has been agreed beforehand. I ask that we are respectful to one another in debates during the course of this meeting. I would also like to remind fellow councillors to have regards to 7 principles of public life. Also refer to the Northern principles, which are also set in the council adopted code of conduct. Selfishness, integrity, objectives, accountability, openness, honesty and leadership. Apologies received. Councillor Campbell, Evans and Knowledge. Right, the minutes.
Are there any other apologies?
Right, are there any other apologies, sorry? No. Right. Minutes. To approve as correct record of the minutes of the council meeting held on the 24th of January. Sorry. So what do I do? Stop?
No.
Or carry on?
No, carry on, I think.
I'll carry on, yeah. Because it's only minutes, yeah. Box office is not ready for us for the Bathurst Awards. Right,
No, sorry. We have asked people if they're happy to accept the minutes.
Yeah, I'm just going to do that, yeah. Right, so I'm going to go. Now, are you happy with the minutes in January 2024? All those in favour, raise your hands, please. Any objections?
Okay. Would you mind signing them?
I will.
Thank you.
Right. What's wrong? Sorry.
There's currently a technical problem. There's no sound going out on our webcast, so I was just asking the Mayor if she would like to adjourn whilst we try and fix it, or whether she'd like to carry on. So we've tried various fixes without success, and there's no support coming through from the support line. So my recommendation to the Mayor, which he has accepted, is that we go ahead with this evening's meeting. We will record it, but we will not put any broadcast on, live broadcast on, and then we'll see if the raw recording is able to be uploaded at a later date onto the website. But in the interest of progressing with your business, I recommend that we continue with the meeting now, and the Mayor has agreed to that.
Sheriff.
The Mayor, sorry, Madam Sheriff.
Wouldn't want to come back another evening, would you? Right, so So we're not being broadcast. Well, why am I on that photograph then?
We're being recorded but not broadcast.
Oh, I see. Put my lipstick on again. Right, so where are we now then?
Are there any declarations of
Right,
interest?
declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest to this council this evening? No. I got a call over. Members are asked to note that item 8 and 9 will not be called over, as each requires a recorded vote in accordance with regulations 2 of the local authorities. Standing orders, England amendments, regulation 214 and council procedures rule 18.05. No? Right. Sheriff, if you wish to reserve item 10, Gloucester Local Development Scheme 2025-28 for discussion, please indicate by raising your hand. Did you understand that? Yeah? So, do you want it or what?
I'm just looking.
No one wants to raise their hand.
So, if you read this bit here. No,
Yeah.
Sorry, next page.
Oh, yeah, okay.
This one here.
Item 10 has not been reserved for discussion. I now call upon the Leader of the Council to move a motion to ask Council to approve the recommendations of that report.
Councillor Hilton.
Councillor Hilton?
Yeah, I so move.
Councillor
Deputy
Wilson?
Mayor?
Yeah. Okay. Right, public question.
No, sorry, he needs a seconder.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, I knew you were going to do it. Sorry. Shouldn't be like that, should
Does
I?
Council approve the report?
Did Council approve that? Okay, all happy? Right, yeah. Public question time. Are there any public in the gallery who'd like to...
No, read the bit just in there. That's it.
Yeah.
If you read from there.
Questions from members of the public and responses from Cabinet members have been published and circulated in advance. Those questions and answers will be taken as read. I will now invite those who submit questions to ask one. Related supplementary questions. I would ask members of the public to proceed directly to the question, which will be answered without discussion, after which members of the public should return to their seats or otherwise, after which members of the public will return unless they have more than one question on the schedule. We have 15 minutes to get through as many supplementary questions as possible. Thank you so much.
The first one is from Mr. Redgewell.
Right. Mr. Redgewell, would you like to ask a question?
I will. Which one is first?
Question 1 is the
It's the airport one.
airport. I don't know mine.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So my first question is about the airport. So my supplementary question is simple. So what happens, will there be a capital receipt to this council and to Cheltenham Borough Council from the sale of Gloucestershire Airport? And how will it protect jobs and services of the people working there?
Well, we're still waiting for advice on the tenders that have been received, and they'll be looked at. One of the conditions is that we expect the applicants to put in a proper business plan and investment plan in order to deliver further success for the airport. Any capital receipt would be shared 50-50 between Gloucester City Council and Cheltenham Borough Council, and any debts that the airport owes Gloucester City Council or Cheltenham Borough Council will be the first to be paid off, in other words, a loan for the runway.
Question 2. Yeah, thank you. Question 2, I'm very grateful, and unfortunately, Mr. Baird can't be here tonight as well. I know he's interested in this question. So we've got a budget for maintenance and repairs of the transport hub. I think the question that we would then want to know is what is the maintenance schedule for the bus station stroke transport hub in terms of regular maintenance for the doors, information for the new cafe, which we welcome, Jeremy, by the way, that's opened, but doesn't yet have any signage or any air conditioning vents that they've asked for. So is there a work schedule? Because we seem to get into crisis situations where no doors work, and that's been going on for a few months, or we get in a situation where we've got open the cafe, and I'm very grateful, Chief Executive, for that. I think Pasha is very thankful very much, but we need to get a fan in there to make it usable, and calls will be made by the cooperative that we're working with Gloucester Community Rail Partnership, to try and get that fan to officers, and so far that fan's not arrived. So it's just knowing who's responsible for the day-to-day maintenance, making sure, because it's not Stagecoach, and I think the other follow-up bit of that is there a legal agreement with Stagecoach about making sure the ticket office and facilities for passengers are actually open, and what is that schedule? Because obviously this is, you should be very proud of this interchange. It's a great asset for Gloucester and the West Country, but it needs maintenance and management, and that's what concerns us. So that's the issue. Is there a schedule? Who's in charge of it, and how often do they make sure it's working, everything's working down there on a monthly basis or a weekly basis? Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that follow-up question. The 157,000 budget, first of all, it's not just maintenance, it's cleaning as well, so it's cleaning and maintenance. As regards a specific schedule, I'll have to get that for you. I don't have it, or side of it, offhand, but I can certainly do that and let you know. But a lot of these jobs will be as ad hoc as they occur. With regards to the doors, etc., that was a unique situation. And once resolved, hopefully that will be it. But there'll always be, from that point onwards, I would anticipate only minor little things such as the fan, which I was unaware of. So I can get that looked into as well.
I think the other point was the signage, just the signage, that was all.
Thank you. Thank you, Thanks, Deputy Mayor. I'm very excited to be bringing this petition to Gloucester City Council, and it's very much to restore the 1863 drinking water tap at the entrance to the Gloucester Docks. There's about just under 200 signatures to this petition that were collected by David Purchase, who's the owner of On Toast. Businesses in the city can see a sharp drop in footfall during temperatures that exceed 24 to 25 degrees. And therefore, having a drinking water tap, which is accessible to all people, will help in the face of the warm summers that we may see in the future. And I think the reason why I am very excited by this is because the future plan of this council is not only to include more drinking water stations in the city, but we hope that we will see more tree planting to provide shaded areas, and even looking at maybe in the future pavement reflectors to cool pedestrian walkways and portable mist sprays that can be moved around the city. So I need to give this petition directly to Councillor Sebastian Field and also jointly to Councillor Declan Wilson because of the finance aspect of it. But I'm really excited because Bristol Water has offered their assistance as well, which is really good. And so, yes, here is the petition.
Councillors, would you like to respond to that? Drink of water?
Thank you very much for the petition. Yes, that's something that we've talked about before, and I'm sure it's something that we can actually deliver on. The fountain in question, it's quite a nice little structure, but it's sort of one of these things that's got forgotten about, and you walk past it every day without appreciating it. So, in fact, yeah, it's quite a good photograph of it there. So I'd be delighted to take us on, and I think it's something we can do something with. So, thank you.
Right. Receive announcements. Well, the sheriff, I've got nothing to receive, but we've got to keep flying the flag for the sheriffs and the chivalry. We don't seem to be doing that often, but we have led a good. We have a good chair for the sheriffs, Councillor David Brown, which puts all his time and effort into making sure we fly the flag. And we also have the president here, not walking in, but Andrew Gavals, who's president of the chivalry, and the sheriff is an ancient office, and we need to, keep it going. There's only it was 15, but the sheriff of Nottingham now is pulled out. Am I right in thinking like that, Councillor Gavals? Yes, so we have no sheriff of Nottingham. But, please keep flying the flag for the sheriff of Gloucester as well. Right, sorry, go on.
Can I just say something to make sure we don't get extensive phone calls from Nottingham? It's not the Sheriff of Nottingham's called out, it's their Tribal Association.
Absolutely, sorry, yeah, the Shively. I do beg your pardon. I've just seen if you were awake, Councillor Gavals, yeah. But thank you so much. Thank you. All right, right, I'll go on. Leader of the Council.
Yeah, just got one announcement on the third anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. You'll note that we continue to fly the Ukraine flag next to the Union flag at the North Warehouse, and we will continue to do that in solidarity with Ukraine until a peace deal has been done and the Russians have got out of Ukraine.
The only announcement I was going to make was about the COVID memorial ceremony, which you've already made on behalf of the Mayor, so thank you, Deputy Mayor, for announcing that. This will also be our first opportunity to gather at the COVID memorial in Gloucester Park since it was installed. The final piece went in about a month ago, which was the interpretation board, so it'll also be a nice unveiling of that, and hopefully you've all received your invitation. And hope to see you there. And also thank you, Councillors Pullen and Marshall, for your interest and your encouragement in seeing this event go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, I do subscribe to that. Thank you for that. And chairs of committees? Anybody, chairs of committees, would like to make an announcement? No?
Head of paid service.
Right.
I have none.
You have none?
No.
Head of pay service. Do you want a pay rise?
No, thanks. Well, yes, please.
Goldbrick, right. A carryover?
Item 8 now.
Sorry?
Item 8 now.
Yeah, I'm on, yeah.
That's it.
Right, a recorded vote will be taken on substantial budget motions in accordance with Regulation 2 of the local authorities. Standing orders, England Amendments, Regulation 2014 and Council Procedure Rule 18.05. Councillor Hilton to move and Councillor Wilson to second the following motion. Okay?
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I think that's the office that allows you to chair the meeting when the Mayor's not here. Can I just first of all thank all the officers for the hard work they've done in preparing the budget papers. There's been issues with the finances of this council, issues with the statement of accounts being delayed, at the auditing of those. So they've been working pretty hard to try and catch up, and we think by next year we'll be on target to do things as they should be done. And there's also been problems with staff within the the finance department, we had early retirement of our Section 151 officer because of ill health, and the team have been working particularly hard to get the budget prepared. And when you look at the budget papers, you will see that the primary objective of the administration was to be prudent with the council's finances and to make sure that we stayed solvent, and we are solvent, and there is no problems with that, and to make sure that the finances of the council for the next few years protects us against any financial shocks that we might have. And we do know that there's going to be a review of the business rates, and that could have a negative impact of £2.4 million, which is why some money is going into the reserves in order to cover against that. I also thought I might mention the support that we're getting from the government of all colours since 2016-17, when the council tax raised £6.7 million and the government grant raised £9.3 million, total of £16 million, other than the other income that we get from the commercial assets of this council. In 2025 to 26, the council tax now raises £9.4 million, but the government support is down to £5.8 million, which means the total expenditure there, or raising of money, is £15.2 million on an £18.2 million budget requirement. It's down 29% in 10 years on the amount of money that we're getting from the government, of whatever the colour. I'll say I was particularly disappointed because I was looking forward to a new government being more generous towards Gloucester City Council. But in effect, what we've ended up with is zero money whatsoever from the government. When we look at the bottom line of the budget, there's no additional money at all, whereas the county council down the road got 5.5% increase in the funding that it got from the government. And that's made it difficult, and that means that some of the projects that we would like to have done in the next year, we can't necessarily fund at the moment, and we're going to have to look at some imaginative ways of dealing with those things. But in the end, the most important thing is that we have a balanced budget. We're working on a 2.99% council tax rise, and also inflation at the same time of 3%. Can I also thank the other groups for the cooperation and agreement that we had in looking at their amendments to the budget, which some of them we've accepted. And I think it worked really well. We had some good ideas coming in from opposition groups. The first one from the Conservative group was the second weed ripping machine to remove the weeds across the city and reduce the reliance on weed killer. We know it's worked well. I think we've all seen the first one work well, and we need to improve on that, and a second one would really help. It would cost around £110,000, but that's come out of the capital budget, and I'm sure we can afford that. Also, the Conservative group proposed employing 2 officers at an estimated cost of £60,000, plus the purchase of a van at an estimated cost of £50,000 to provide an ad hoc clear-up street cleaning services across the city. That will also deal with our graffiti action plan. I think that is a very good idea, and we were quite happy to support it. Also, the street, and that will be funded from the street care services budget. The third item was a new environmental crime officer, which again we're happy to support. A similar proposal that we got from the Labour group, so we put those together because the Labour group also asked for 4 new CCTV cameras, which we're happy to support. The existing ones were hand-me-downs from the police, I gather, a number of years ago, and are completely useless in looking at areas of the city where there's hotspots where we want to put the cameras up to catch the people that are persistently fly-tipping in our wonderful city. The Labour group also proposed funding the Citizens Advice Bureau for preventing homelessness advice for tune of £30,000. We put that into an earmark reserve because we do need to go out to some competitive tender just to make sure that if the CAB gets the work and gets the money, we know they're going to provide an additional service rather than just going into the pot and nothing happening. It's important that we get that improved service. And then finally, the Community Independent Group posed a free drinking water refill points. They pinched one of my old ideas and we're quite happy to support that one. It's one of the items in the corporate plan to introduce these drinking refill points around the city, and we're glad to help on that one. And again, they proposed, wanted a green gym at Matson. We did meet with the leader of the group sometime last year, and I said that we would look to include it in this year's budget, and we are doing so. Similarly, we're agreeing to put £15,000 in the budget to carry out some improvements to the play area, one of the play areas in Grange Ward, and we're happy to do that. So we've agreed all those amendments with the other two groups. What we didn't agree to was the proposal to freeze the council tax, to freeze car parking charges, and to freeze the garden waste charges. We just don't have the money, though some of the ideas would be reasonable at a good time when the council's finances were sound. They aren't sound at the moment, and the extra cost that would be was about £315,000 if we agreed to all those budgetary amendments, and that really would be putting the city council's finances close into a section 114 notice, which is a bankruptcy notice, because over a period of few years we could end up in really serious problems. And the one thing we need to do is protect the financial health of this council, not only this year but into the future. So we have to be careful how we spend the money. But I just now want to just go on and just let you know that and Declan will come in with some more information about the budget, is to do with the capital projects that we've got in the budget. There's quite a lot of money being spent now. You will see that there's £14 million to finish off the King's Quarter Forum project. That is not new money that we've had to put in because it's overspent. It's nothing like that. It's the money that was already allocated. It's just in this financial year coming is when we will draw on that money. Similarly, we've got £12.2 million in the Greyfriars to do the Greyfriars project from next year, but also another £1.4 million in the year after. So that's a total of £13.6 million reserved for that project, and we need to thank both the previous Member of Parliament, who is in support of this project, and also the existing Member of Parliament, who's also supported and was lobbying ministers to make sure that this money was allocated. If you remember, councillors, there was a delay in getting guaranteed for that money, so we haven't been able to start the project on time as we wish to have done, but we have now started work on that. I think we've employed a project manager already, so we're making progress on that. There's also £8 million in the budget for improvements to the GL1 Leisure Centre and the Oxtalls Tennis Centre. There's also £2 million to improve our commercially rented properties we rent out, and also £2.8 million for council building improvements. There's also £5 million over the next 2 years to upgrade the crematorium and the road and everything else, and we're hoping that we might well get funding for that from the Community Infrastructure Levy, the strategic funds. And there's also £2 million in building works for the museum. Again, we've got to do that. We need to make sure that our property assets are in good condition. If you don't repair and you don't look after them, it becomes more and more expensive as time goes by, as we've seen with some of our car parks. Can I also just say that one of the key objectives of the administration is to also drive up commercial income. because if we weren't driving up commercial income, the finances of this council would be a lot more dodgy than they are today when they're healthy, even though we've got a tight financial situation. So we're projecting an increase in commercial property income of £736,000 in the next year. We're projecting £60,000 additional income from our SWRDA assets, that's the South West Regional Development Agency assets that were transferred to us a number of years ago. 151,000 in our car park income. Again, we know that we're spending money on our car parks, we're improving them, we're making them safer. A lot of work has been done on Longsmiths car park. We also know that we're going to have to do work to the roof of the Eastgate car park. That's going to cost probably a couple of £100,000 to make sure it's watertight. So we do need to make sure that we continue to drive up our income from those commercial assets. And then a couple of £1,000 from the markets as well. I think we've started to sort out issues to do with tenancies and payments and from the tenants that are working in the markets. And we know at the moment where we're considering the car boot market as well, and we're looking at driving up the income that this council would get from that commercial asset as well. I do recommend, Madam Deputy Mayor, this budget. It's a sound budget. We know we could all do more, but we have to work within the constraints of the finances and the money that we've got, and I think we're doing it as best as we can. I also know the officers are now working on some of the changes in priorities to make sure that we can possibly move staff around and reimagine them or do things so that we can get some of our other project work, such as things like enforcement, better funded than it is at the moment. But we need to try and do that first within the budget we've got before we look at trying to spend more money. I reckon. I know. I don't want to take all the thunder away from Declan, and he shared what he'd like to say. So I'll leave Declan to follow on.
Rebecca, sweetly, one moment.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I'll try and cram this into 5 minutes. Since Jeremy's already mentioned a few things, I'll edit it out a bit. But I just want to explain the context of this budget. As I explained at January's Overview and Scrutiny Committee meeting, we are facing continued difficult times, especially district councils, who continue to face a difficult financial climate. That's been the case for several years now. I did show Overview and Scrutiny some details that showed that, according to our calculations of our own finance team, our core spending power is it's about 29% less than it was about 10 years ago. So things are getting, unfortunately, very tough. In December, the government announced to great fanfare that there would be an increase in core spending power across the local government sector of 6%. So our optimism sort of rose a bit on that. We were reasonably confident we would get a decent settlement. What they didn't say, however, was that this wouldn't be evenly distributed across the different types of council. I'm going to show a chart here. It's going to be hard to see, I know, but I'll explain what it is. This is our core spending power here. These different types of councils. This is metropolitan councils. This is unitary. This is county. This is London. This is fire. Can you think where districts might be? It's this little speck here. Unfortunately, it's 0.32% on average. This is the average here. It's almost as if they don't like district councils for some reason, but that's where we are, so we have to live with that, unfortunately. We got a roughly about 0.6%, so it's slightly better than that, but as you know, it's a real times cut. But that's the way it is, unfortunately. So all this means is we will have to continue to find further efficiencies. In my own portfolio, for example, I expect budget savings from bringing in-house the incoming post-service and cost reductions from the outgoing post-contract, digitalisation of service streams, including a greater application of electronic billing where possible, 60,000 from the introduction of the second home council tax premium charge, 70,000 from the replacement of parking machines at Eastgate, King's Walk to pay on arrival. We discussed that at the last and agreed at the last cabinet meeting. Oh no, I think that's the next cabinet meeting. Might have been cabinet briefing. 120. So you've got that to look forward to. 126,000 reduction in pension scheme back funding costs. As it turns out, our pension scheme is fully funded, so that will get us some cash back. It'll save us about 126,000. As regards new income streams, that will include 4 million from the forum tenants, car park and hotel as it nears completion, and 50,000 from the food dock as we see a whole year of it being in operation. With regards to the government funding, I'm looking at the clock very nervously here. The revenue support grant has had several minor grants rolled up into it, namely the services grant, the domestic abuse, safe accommodation grant, and other new burdens grants. The intention is to simplify local government funding. The amount that has been allocated to Gloucester is 297,000. A new grant, the recovery grant, which is based on a government deprivation formula, has given us an allocation of 450,000. And an additional year of new homes bonus has been announced that will give us 97,000. We were disappointed nonetheless, however, when we got the final amount of compensation for employers' national insurance contributions. In the original money plan that went before overdue scrutiny, we had it as 200,000. It turned out it was only 112, so that's an 88,000 shortfall, which we have to find from somewhere else, unfortunately. But on a plus side, the Extended Producer Responsibility Grant has been confirmed, and that will be worth 736,000 to us. We will continue the pooling arrangement for business rates retention, as this increases the amount we can keep locally, as it reduces the levy paid to central government. As regards the general fund, as I've already said, we will be maintaining the general fund at approximately 10% of net revenues, which assumes a minimum level of 1.7 by the end of this plan, so that in year 5, in fact, we hope it will be a lot more than that. We are proposing to increase the general fund by 237,000 next year, but we will be drawing it down in 2026-27, mainly as a consequence of the drop of about 2.4 million in business rate retention. Jeremy went through the capital spending, so I'll leave that out because it's basically the same thing. As I can see on the clock there, I'm down to 20 seconds. Council tax is important. Council tax, the local government finance settlement includes what is called the council tax requirement, which is part of the council's core spending power. When the government performs its calculations, this is important, it assumes we increase our council tax by the maximum allowed of 2.99%. Therefore, to maintain the council tax requirement... Yeah, and I'm nearly finished anyway. Okay, thanks, Pam. In line with government assumption, the minimum year-on-year increase should be 2.99%. Finally, I would like to thank the officers who have helped us put this budget together, in particular Hadrian Walters, who has been working all hours in challenging circumstances, and his finance team, the senior management team, members of Overdue Scrutiny Committee for the rigorous analysis and thorough questioning. Yes, really. My cabinet colleagues for their understanding and patience. And finally, I would like to urge all my fellow members here tonight to please support this budget. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Will. Would you like to pass that graph around to show the
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
council, please?
Yeah, it's quite instructive.
So everyone can see it. We know where we're coming. Thank you.
Where are the ones on the right?
Yeah, all right, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Our group would also like to thank all the hard work that the officers have gone through in putting this together. We know there have been challenging circumstances, and we know the amount of work that has gone in, and also personally like to thank Hadrian as well for all his hard work, and everybody else that's been involved. So, for the last year, I suppose the Liberal Democrats have been working on our sound financial budget, but now the test is really there to see if this budget will be sound. I will now present our Conservative group amendments that we've worked on very closely together and we were quite happy with. So, some of them have been accepted and some of them haven't. Well, one of them hasn't. So firstly, we're pleased to say that you've taken on board our amendment to the purchase of a second weed pulling machine to effectively remove the weeds across the city.
And it's better than the spray because I've been stood next to weeds taller than me that have gone brown and dead but still somehow stand up. So every councillor in our group has had residents complain about the overgrown vegetation in every ward of this city, and we've listened to those concerns. We've been calling for a few months to alleviate the concerns of residents, and now we hope residents will see a difference once this machine gets purchased and starts working its way around the city. Secondly, we wanted to see the funding of 2 additional officers plus a van for them to get around the city, hopefully full of tools and handy tools and graffiti paint, etc. Yeah. So we're hoping that this initiative would help ensure that our streets are kept clean to the high standards that our residents deserve. We want less bureaucracy, we want quicker action, and we hope that a proactive approach to keeping our cities tidy will come from this. Our proposal is for these neighbourhood wardens will be proactive and patrol all areas in Gloucester, ensuring that if there's a problem, such as fly tipping, they clear it up. Graffiti, they remove it. If there's debris blocking a pathway, they clean it. So the issues don't build up and residents don't get frustrated when they report something, and by the time it gets through the bureaucracy of the here to help and then getting allocated and then going to Ubico, we would hope they would have been directly employees of the council, but I think from what I've seen on the amendment papers, they won't be. They're going to be through a third-party contractor, but we would have preferred them to be direct employees. Another amendment that we wanted to introduce was an additional environmental crime officer to work really closely with these wardens to know where the hotspots are, to get the things cleared up and to get the action taken, the appropriate action towards the perpetrator of that offence, whether that's fly tipping, dog poo fouling, etc., or littering. Because we all want this a pleasant place to live, and we hope that the enforcement team can work alongside neighbourhood wardens. Unfortunately, our proposal to cancel the charge for damaged wheelie bins, which would have been required an allocation of approximately 20,000, was not accepted. However, we remain committed to finding alternative ways. But we are still going to debate this today. As the administration have accepted our amendments, we hope they've responsibly incorporated them into the budget. However, we do have a steer for them and some ideas. So we suggest that 24,000 could come from Cabinet's allowances, the extra. We understand that to work around people's jobs or private lives, they might need to do less work, but then we think you should share the income that we took when we were in administration and not increase it and make taxpayers pay for it. We also propose to stop unnecessary bureaucracy, and it was reassuring to hear the leader say today that these wardens can incorporate the graffiti plan, because we thought that £20,000 to make a plan was better off spent doing the work. So we, the Conservatives, believe in less talk and more action, and we want to cut through that red tape to ensure public funds are used wisely. Furthermore, we propose that there's not an extra £60,000 spend on a personal spin doctor for the administration to tell the people what a great job they're all doing. The actions of this administration will speak for themselves. If you need to employ additional officers to try and spin things, then I'm concerned. If you can't make this budget work, you may be looking at going the same way as Liberal-run Cotswolds councils, nearly faced in bankruptcy. Now to a serious concern. I am concerned about the projections for the income of the forum. The forum's not yet open. We have no date for it to be open. Yet, to my understanding, there are £4 million projected income for the forum. That's concerning, and you have reassured me that that is the income and it will reach those targets, but we will wait to see, and I do generally worry about that. These amendments reflect our commitment to improving the environment and quality of life for all residents. We believe that these investments are not only necessary, but also represent a prudent use of public funds, addressing immediate needs while fostering a long-term benefits for our communities. The Conservatives are dedicated to prudent financial management. Our amendments focus on real improvements rather than unnecessary expenses. Every decision we've made as a group is rooted in the concerns and needs of our residents. We are here to listen and we act on what matters to them. We think that we were really disappointed as a group and I know others were, when you pulled the corporate plan coming to this council so we could debate and work on the council's strategies for the forthcoming period. However, now I just see this as an opportunity because we can debate what goes into that budget and that will dictate where the strategy goes. So without a corporate plan, today this budget will determine where the money goes.
Conservative amendments? Would you like a debate?
I'd like to speak.
No one like to speak on it? Sorry?
We've accepted finance. Are we talking about the one? Yeah, well, I'll come back. The proposal to charge for wheelie bins was something that was introduced by the last administration. It was a bit controversial at the time, and it's only really been in operation for about 12 months. And when we discussed this at group leaders, I said that we're quite happy to review it, and if we think it should be pulled within this next financial year, we can do that quite quickly. And I would think we want to move fairly quickly on this as well, to look at what's happened and whether there needs to any changes in its operation or whether the scheme should be deleted, and we can cover that sort of financial impact on the budget anyway. But at this point in time, we just need to look at whether it's working and what, frankly, how I know as a member of this council that I've had nobody write to me to complain that they had to pay for a replacement wheelie bin. So that's not, that's my experience, and I think that might be the experience of others. But let's just have a look at this scheme and just see how it's working and what the faults are and the successes are. And if we think it should be abandoned, we'll abandon it. I'll give you that promise. But at this point in time, I don't want to abandon it without considering the project and how it's operating, because it's only been in operation for, say, a year or two.
Councillor Patel?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. This is one that I do feel strongly about, and it's one that residents have come to me, and also being a proactive councillor, it's one that I've spotted whilst out in my ward, in my patch, delivering newsletters, talking to residents. So, yes, it's been in place for the last year now, but when we have circumstances where bins were damaged prior to this policy coming in, we're not taking that into consideration. So in cases where I have contacted the council, where residents have informed me that the wheelie bin has been damaged for a year and a half, 2 years, there's bins with no lids on there, which we're not going to replace. And in the deprived area that I represent, for example, one property where there's a single mother with a few kids, she's got no lid on the bin. Come the summer when the weather gets hot, we're going to see maggots, we're going to see seagulls diving into that, we're going to see foxes going into there, cats as well. It's going to be an absolute mess. And I think that the numbers are probably going to be very small. I'll give you another example. My neighbour's bin didn't get collected a few weeks ago. I reported to the council on the Monday, and I got a message back to say it's too late now to inform the council that the bin hasn't been collected. What then happened is you had to go back and review the footage from the actual vehicle. And then it turned out that that wheelie bin had become damaged by the vehicle, and as a result, they were going to be issued a replacement wheelie bin free of charge, but their bin didn't get emptied for a fortnight. So there are issues, and it does create a lot of extra work. And if we had a case where we were just saying, right, we'll issue you a new wheelie bin, end of story, happy days, everyone's happy. The bottom line is the residents are already paying their council tax for this service, and if the wheelie bin gets damaged, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be damaged by the vehicles, by the trucks. It's not going to be damaged by the residents jumping all over them or whatnot. So let's be fair, let's be sensible about it, and let's review this as you've very kindly agreed to do. and hopefully we'll just abandon this this policy. At the time, maybe felt like it was a good idea, but with hindsight, it's one that we look back on and say, actually, no, let's be fair on the residents of this city, especially in the inner city deprived wards such as mine. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Councillor Pullen, please.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Get that right from the start. I have to say I find myself in an unusual position of agreeing with Councillor Patel. It does seem that for £20,000, which is quite a small fee, let's be honest, is this really worth it? How do you prove, as you've suggested, who has damaged the bin? There are a number of complications in that. So if we get into, did you damage it? Did the council damage it? That could drag on for a long time, and people are without a bin. Like Barton and Treadworth, in my ward, in Moorland, we have similar issues. And what we don't want is people without a bin for an extended reason, for an extended period, while we're trying to prove who it is and who damaged it. And as a result, the rubbish that would have been in that bin, sadly, is strewn all over the street, and you've got even more fly tipping. So I think this is a good proposal. Thank you.
Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, Councillor Wilson, please.
Okay. I hear anecdotally, and I could be wrong in this one, that we're not really charging people anyway when they phone up. So I think we want to find out more about how this is working, how bad the problem is, and we can move fairly quickly on it. But we can do that within our normal. We don't have to actually necessarily put a line in the budget for it. We have promised to review. We will look into it, and I'm just not entirely sure before taking a decision tonight just how bad this issue is. So I would want to know first. But certainly we don't want to penalise anybody, and if there are problems, we want to deal with them. But I just want to see a few hard facts first, and that could be something we can investigate quite quickly. I want to mention one other thing. Councillor Chambers made a mention about employing a spin doctor. I just should point out our communication budget is actually unchanged from last year. It is exactly the same. In fact, that's a real times cut. What we are doing is one member of staff is being attributed across from the County Council to ourselves, but the overall cost will stay the same, so we're not employing any extra spin doctors or anything like that.
Please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Yeah, as Councillor Wilson said, we are very happy to look at this. We're very happy to review it. I speak to my team about this issue quite frequently, and it has come up several times this year. It's worth, of course, reminding members that it was a scheme introduced under the previous administration, and we're just trying to administer what we inherited. And it's also true to say that we aren't getting a vast income from the scheme at the moment, because as Councillor Wilson alluded to just now, anecdotally, we're not actually getting much from it because we're tending not to push it too far to find out who was really responsible. We're tending to accept the word of residents and over the word of Yubico crews, and it's quite time-consuming to actually look into all the CCTV footage, and in the end, it's just easier to issue a replacement bin. To the residents who had a bin that Councillor Patel mentioned, had a bin that was broken a long time ago, and perhaps they should have got that replaced while they still could under the previous scheme. But certainly if they want to get in touch, we'll take a look at it now. It's also, it's not just the only element of this scheme. The scheme also includes the free allocation of a 140 litre, i.e. a smaller wheelie bin, to residents if they request it, and that is to try and get us further towards our waste reduction programme, and that is very important if we're going to tackle climate change. So it's not just about the replacing of the big bins, it's about getting residents onto smaller bins and reducing the black residual waste, which is a real problem for this city. It's still far too high. We do need to get it down, and you know, the government may start proposing other things like 3 weekly collections and things like that. So we have to look at this very seriously. And so I'm very happy to agree to have a review and report back to council.
Thank you, Councillor Field. Councillor Chambers, would you like to...
No, Councillor Chambers de Booz was first.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Yeah, one of my concerns about the bin thing, and I'm talking about this from personal experience here, I've lived in my house for nearly 24 years now. I've had that same bin for 24 years, and it was by no means new when I had it, when I bought the house. Now, that bin, as you can imagine, has seen a few things. It's slightly janky, to say the least now. It's been cracked, it's been glued, all manner of things. I would feel seriously aggrieved, as a resident of Gloucester, if my bin fell apart and I was, broke completely and I couldn't repair it, and then I was expected to pay for it, considering effectively I've been paying for it in my council tax. And, I think there's a lot of residents that probably feel the same. When I was reading the things about the bin, when this payment thing first came out, there didn't seem to be a lot of mitigation in there for the fact that things do eventually wear out. Wheels fall off. There's wear and tear. So I do think that it is unfair. I do think that effectively where it is looked into and people end up without a bin, or if people don't report it because they're worried about having to pay the £40, it's going to lead to more fly tipping. So I do think that is, especially if it's not really being looked at, not really being implemented at the moment, we're actually encouraging people by scaring them effectively to put things where it shouldn't be. So, having a look at it would be great. Thank you.
Councillor Chambers, please. Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Sheriff, Deputy Mayor. So I wasn't really going to speak about this, it's about something else, but some bullet points. So I think that the bins should be renewed for the courtesy of the council. The reason being is I know Brendan's worked with quite a few people on low incomes and he's managed to sort stuff out there. I don't know if he's going to talk about, he sorted some free bins out for many residents. So I know free bins can be given. So I don't know why it's not a policy. Also, the amount of money this council wastes is significant. So there's a glow outside, quite a significant glow, and that glow is the glow of the diminished, falling apart Longsmith car park. The top 2 floors since the Liberal administration have been in, they failed to turn the lights off. There's more lights on in the floors that aren't open than the floors that are open. And that's just a massive power wastage of electric. If you work out, there's 80 lights there, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 10 months, 300 days a year on since they've been in administration. And you work out the cost per fluorescent light and the lumen levels, that would have probably paid for nearly half of the bins. And that's just like, they left the lights on, but nobody's home. Literally nobody's home because those floors are locked up, no one can get in there. And it's just a massive sheer waste of money. I noticed they have started turning the lights off in North Warehouse because that was on for the first part of this year as well. I noticed there's only a few lights left on there. But the point is that's only 2 council buildings, and I wonder how many other council buildings have literally just got the power left on. The Cabinet Member for Environment should be monitoring this and making sure that money is not being wasted. Literally, power is just being wasted. It's meant to be net zero in 2030, and you've literally got empty buildings with the power on 24/7. So how about cutting the costs to the power, looking at that, being a bit more environmentally friendly to the residents, and use that money for bins so people will recycle, use their bins better. I think what Chambers de Booz said is really, really important with regards to maintenance. Like some stuff's only good for 12 months, and these bins get knocked about, waste compressed into them, tipped around, banged about in the wind, and things do only have a lifespan. So I think for people to have to pay for them to be renewed isn't really acceptable. So yeah, thank you.
Councillor Chambers.
Any other debate?
I'm just looking round. Anyone else would like to speak on this one? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I wasn't going to say anything on this really, but I myself have spoken to Ubico a few times, and they have actually given out boxes to these residents free, which, because if they have to pay for them, they will not use them at all. They will not recycle. They'll flight it everywhere, and I've already got them using communal bins because they won't pay for new boxes or new bins. So I really think this is a major mistake, and if Ubico seem okay to give them a free bin, why couldn't the council do exactly the same?
Any other debate? No?
Does Councillor Lewis wish to speak?
No, second,
so
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Deputy Mayor. We're all still getting used to it, aren't we? Pam. Yeah, I just wanted to come back on the comment that Councillor Chambers made about money being wasted on lights being left in car parks. To my knowledge, the reason for that is for safety reasons, and that's why the lights are left on. It's not due to negligence or wastage on the part of the council. Just wanted to correct that for the record.
Thank you. Just for a moment.
Thank you very much. I agree with that, and what I would suggest for the administration is put the money in. If it's not needed after review, take it back out again. But you've covered yourself. It's just prudence and all the rest of it, which is what we would have probably done under administration, because that's what we did. You can see that by the pensions. Suddenly you've got a lot of money spare because we were prudent with the pensions. So we had exactly the same problem with you, with lack of money. Everybody else had their hands in your pockets and all the rest of it. But we were prudent. We were quite, vilified occasionally and all the rest of it. But that's the choice you get when you become an administration. And it's your budget now. It's not ours, so don't mention our budget. You've finished with that now. This is yours. Sorry, it lasted for 12 months, but that's about it. The communications. Now, how having 2 officers in-house is going to be cheaper than having a shared thing with the county council. Don't get it. Don't think we need it. So I would have just left that alone, and that could have saved you 50 grand or something of that nature. Adrian will probably correct me later on and whatever, but that's just doing the maths and whatever. The thing with the £4 million from the foreman, I know there's 3,750,000 in costs or something of that nature, which leaves us 250 grand. So it's not 4 million, it's 250 grand. So why keep saying it's 4 million? Because that's not the be all and end all. So it's a little bit spurious to just mention the 4 million and then forget about all the expenses. So that doesn't actually work out. There are other things and whatever, but I think we've been quite prudent. We've been quite objective on your behalf, if you know what I mean. We haven't done anything stupid, frivolous. It's just what we think is available and at a cost which we think this council can afford. I did mention 2 things when we had the discussions yesterday, which is you can have as many cabinet members as you like. Don't care. But the costs shouldn't be any more than they were last year. Because it's 24k. What can you do with 24k? In our little budget, that's a fair bit. Then you're spending 20k on a quango for writing on a wall, picking up dog, this, that, and that. It doesn't need it. Like the leader said, or our leader, sorry, get rid of bureaucracy, get these 2 blokes on the ground who can actually spot problems and go and do it. They don't have to ask permission. We don't have to go through here to help because it'll automatically be done. They'll save us a lot of earache from the public, you know, employing 2 other people or whatever. I think, like Steph said, we ought to employ them away from Ubico. Then they're ours, if you know what I mean. They can't be directed to go elsewhere. Yeah. But I would have said, let's have it within house with the environmental new officer. They can work in tandem, want to go out and maybe do a bit of photographs and all the rest of a dog with his leg up and whatever. Do that sort of thing. And just, it's another visible thing for the public to see. Van with community wardens on there. Great for the community, great for the council, and we'll all get work done within our ward. There's certain wards that have got a lot more problems than others. Except that, that's where the flexibility of having our own people will do. I just worry if it goes to Ubico or a third party or whatever, they will be directed elsewhere. We want them to make up their own mind what's come through on here to help and this and that. You just go and do it. Whether there's a fly tip or some litter somewhere or whatever. So I think we need to leave that alone. But as it goes, I think our proposals will give better optics for the council. Seb's going to love having a new machine to go around and you know, say, look, we've done, I don't know how many million weeds or something, I don't know. It's sensible, it's practical, and it'll be there where the public can actually see it. So I would just recommend all our amendments to the council and hope you will vote for them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would just like to say it's a big issue. Please do not even think all this council get here to help. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my officers here to help. They're absolutely, it's like a dictionary, a Bible. They sit behind there tapping in, you think, but they know all the alleyways to go. They're a trunk of a tree and all the branches. We don't do the work. It's the officers who does the work. They are our backbone. That portrays us. And I hang my hat up to all of you. Sometimes you don't answer the phone, but no, you do. But no, thank you. But going back to what I'm saying, I was thinking in this debate, why can't they have these little cameras fixed on them? I don't know what to call them. I don't like calling them the refuse. Yeah, the refuse people. Yeah, because it's a great thing. And now, I mean, everybody's. I suggest it to someone else. They only have a little camera, and it covers them. It covers the broken bins. It covers everything. And I think that little camera, I don't know how much expense that would be, but please don't get rid of Here to Help. This council would not run if we didn't have to hear. No, I must have misunderstood where you were coming from. But I think, if I could ask that question, a little body camera. And I'm just picking up on having 2 extra cabinet members and being paid. I think hearing it from this side. Sorry?
Madam Deputy Mayor, this is slightly off topic.
Well, no, all right, then I'm going off topic there. I was just thinking that'd be a bit extra money. But all right, but thank you. So I'm suggesting, don't even think of getting rid of Here to Help to get an extra person, but also a little body camera. And that would be safe for them in all weathers as well. They could say, well, it's snowing, and they say, well, it's sunny up there, but if they're going on the camera, they know it's snowing and broken bins. Amen.
Madam Deputy Mayor, thank you very much. I just wanted to clarify for the council, we're just going, the right of reply goes to the mover of the original motion, which is the mover of the budget, which is Councillor Hilton. So once you finish debate on each of these amendments, Councillor Hilton will have the final right of reply, and you will vote. And the other thing I wanted to point out is you are voting on just the one unaccepted Conservative amendment at this point. You're not voting on the others. Those have already been. You will get to vote on them as part of the overall budget package. So you're just voting on the one damage wheelie bin item after Councillor Hilton has spoken. Madam Deputy Mayor, if that's all right.
Yeah, thank you. I think there's some debate that's confusing people. If you go, first of all, let's go to the communications. If you go to page 16 of 71 on the revenue budget with the spreadsheets, you'll see that the expenditure on communications for 24-25 is £116,000, and we currently pay the county council that fee to provide that service. And for 25-26, the budget is £116,000, identical spending. What we're doing at the moment is bringing, advertising for a new officer, plus there will be a part-time communication officer that will be transferred as 2P over. At the moment, the more senior or the other aspect of the communications team is handled by the county council's senior communication officers. So we're bringing it back in-house. That's all we're doing. And we need to, we've basically got the coverage of 2 people. When I'm speaking to the communication team, I'm speaking in general terms to 2 individuals. One a senior one and one a slightly junior one, but they're both working for the county council at the moment, and one will come over and there'll be another one. So that's not changing. Secondly, all the Conservative budget amendments have been already accepted and incorporated in the budget as it stands at the moment, except for the one item, and there's been other things, issues mentioned in here, but it says approximately cancel the charge for damaged wheelie bins. Well, they don't get charged if it's been damaged by others. I think the issue was, the purpose of introducing it was to stop people getting an extra one for a water butt and an extra one in their gardens. That was a rationale. It is a Conservative proposition. I'm not wedding to it at all. All I said was, can we just have a look at the how it's operating? It was a proposal introduced by the Conservatives, and if it's not working, I'm quite happy to delete it. It doesn't need a budget amendment, because if we decide to cancel the charges, we can do it straight away, and it'll just be a slight adjustment in the overall budget. We can afford to do it. We don't need to identify the £20,000, and I'm not sure whether that figure is accurate or not anyway, but it looks like that quite a lot of the difficulty of asking people to pay for a new wheelie bin seems to be really difficult, because you can't prove yes or no. And it seems to me, from what we're getting, it's just not collecting any money anyway. So it may be one of those legacy failures that we've inherited from the Conservative administration of past. And so I just wonder what the best way forward is, because I'm completely easy on it. And at the group leaders meeting, we just say, we'll review it really fast, and just see what the issues are related to it. That's all. So Stephanie, it might be good to just tell us whether she wants to force a vote on it or not. Now, the other thing is that there was a mention about allowances. No allowances have gone up on this council, other than the normal increase that goes on every year for the inflation to match the councillors' pay award. So nothing's gone up. What we've done on the administration is increase the number of cabinet members from 5 to 7. I saw the last administration under great strain. I saw the former leader under great strain, and I can tell you that he was doing far too much as far as trying to keep ahead of things. And we've discovered a hell of a lot of problems that we've inherited. And the fact that we're discovering them is because we've got 7 members looking at the portfolios, and the portfolios are easy to manage. Can I also remind this council that there is now 3 opposition groups all receiving a leader and deputy leader allowance. One of the opposition groups wasn't before. That was changed before, ahead of the local elections. So I really need to put down this suggestion that there's some reason that the Liberal Democrats have given themselves a pay rise. They have not. They have not. What I've made a decision on, that we needed 7 members. And the other authorities in Gloucestershire with 10 members, or 8 members, or 9 members. So It's nothing difficult. So the point I want to make, that there's clear vote says approximate £20,000. We don't know exactly. Councils are charged for damaged wheelie bins. Do you want to have a review, or do you want to pursue the vote to abandon them now? Just let me know.
Thank you, Councillor Hilton.
Does Councillor Stephanie Chambers wish to put this to the vote?
Yeah. Would you like to put it to the vote, Steph?
Okay.
Thank you. Those in favour of the amendment?
Those against? Sorry.
I think Abstain? Abstentions? Okay, amendment's carried. Right, a debate now for council put in on response to the budget, please. Excuse me, may I just... Let's carry on. You may stand.
Am I good to go?
You want to go too? Oh, yeah, go.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Hilton, for presenting your first Liberal Democrat administration budget. Particular thanks to officers for their hard work in bringing this budget forward, and particular thanks, and I know Hadrian has been mentioned, but particular thanks for Hadrian, and I know there are staffing issues within that team, so we all appreciate it.
Yeah.
Councillor Hilton has sat with me in opposition myself for 12 years. Councillor Hilton for considerably longer than that, quite a generation, but every year we've witnessed cuts and redundancies and cuts to essential services, and I looked for some figures as well. You reflected some of them earlier. In 2015, government funding was 6.2 million to this council. By 2024, it was 4.3 million. And at the same time, the council tax in 2015-16 was 6.4 million. And by 2024, it was 9.1, a massive hike in council tax. So before we actually jump to blame the new Labour government for the problem, I think that's unfair to blame a new government that's only been in place for 7 months and doing their best to bring things forward as best they can. I think we need to give this government a chance. The Liberal Democrats are setting their own budget this evening for next year, but they are administrating and managing the budget that they were handed over. But it is yours to manage. Never mind where it came from. It's you that are in power, you that are running the council, and it's you that have got to manage that budget. So let's have a look and see how you're doing then, shall we? And I know Councillor Hilton gets irate about this, but the first thing you did do, nonetheless, was to increase the number of cabinet members, and we've heard the cost, an extra £24,000 into the budget. I think the previous administration, and this is really strange because I'm agreeing with the previous administration in terms of how they worked as cabinet members. I may not be necessarily agreeing with what you're doing, but you seem to have enough cabinet members to do what you did. Then you wanted, earlier on in the year, to sell off some private sector houses that you bought to house people who were homeless. Wasting money on those properties wasting all the accessible legal charges and undermining all the previous work that officers have done in purchasing those properties. Hardly sound financial management. And at the same time, there were 300 people homeless. So you were selling properties whilst we've got 300 people looking for properties. Thankfully, due to the work of our good chairperson rather of ONS and the committee, we managed to influence that. And right at the last minute, Councillor Wilson, you changed your mind. But we shouldn't really have had to have gone down that road, should we? Then the corporate plan. So how many officer hours and how many hundreds of pounds was being spent on putting that corporate plan together? I don't know. But then at the very, very last minute, you pulled it. And you pulled it because you didn't want to discuss it, and you pulled it because you didn't like opposition amendments. That's not very clever, is it? That's hardly democratic. And we will be calling for that to come to council again. Now, we've just had the third quarter financial figures produced up to December. And after 9 months under your financial management, this council is predicting an overspend of £232,000. And there are massive overspends in commercial property, in asset management, in waste and recycling, and in planning. Doesn't look very clever to me, to be honest. Going forward, you want to spend £20,000 on a public arts strategy, but you've no idea where the money's going to come from to actually deliver the public art that the strategy is going to introduce. You want to employ professional gardeners in our parks and green spaces. Now that's, lovely and admirable ideas, but again, I looked at the housing figures a couple of days ago, and they are now 377 homeless people. So actually, can we start looking at priorities, please? Art strategy, flowers, parks and gardens, or homeless people? We should surely, the priority is looking at homes. So, your track record, frankly, isn't very good. Your financial management is sadly lacking. And you used to go on about a vanishing council. Come on. The Labour government have plans for moving forward. Currently, you have a one-year settlement, but you will know that there are proposals. There is a spending review in place, and that will result in a multi-year settlement that will enable greater financial planning and greater stability, things that councils have been asking for across the country and something that is very much supported by the Local Government Association. Now, talking about funding, let's not forget, and we've alluded to the County Council earlier, there is money coming into the County Council which will ultimately find its way to this council. It may not directly come into this council, but through the County Council coffers it will. £2.8 million to tackle homelessness, an additional £9 million for funding potholes, £8 million to improve bus services, and £28 million for public health. So, as I said, whilst this funding won't directly come into this council, it comes in through the County Council for the people and the residents of Gloucester. And it will directly impact on those people, excuse me. Looking at our amendments, again, thanks to help and advice from the finance team and for Hadrian for putting them together. We believe that they are realistic and affordable. and will have a direct impact on our city. We proposed, as the Conservatives did, an additional officer to tackle environmental crime, and we've also asked for 4 CCTV cameras to go with them. We're really pleased that's been accepted. Fly tipping has been a major problem in this city for a long, long time. It's unsightly, it's unhealthy, it's a scourge on our communities. So we're hoping that by having an additional officer and these cameras, that will seriously address a fly tipping issue. We talked about increasing funding for homeless prevention. We're pleased that that funding pot has been raised. We raised it because it had been raised with us by the Citizens Advice Bureau. The Citizens Advice Bureau are one of the poorest funded, the Citizens Advice Bureau in Gloucester is one of the poorest funded in the city. Just to give you a flavour, the Citizens Advice Bureau in Gloucester is funded to 30,000. If you go to Tewkesbury, it's 60,000. If you go to the Forest, it's 50,000. So the Citizens Advice in this city is seriously underfunded. But we appreciate that 30,000 has been found and that the Citizens Advice Bureau will be entitled to bid into that money. So thank you for accepting those budget amendments. However, there's one that you haven't considered, and that is the thorny issue of car parking charges in this city. Let's be honest, the city centre is struggling. Traders tell us all the time they are struggling, footfall is low, there's an ever-present threat from the quays, people would rather travel to Cribbs Causeway, and the elephant in the room is the new out-of-town retail unit at Tewkesbury, just up the road. And so what does the City Council do to try and combat that? Put up car parking charges. Come on. That doesn't make sense. If you put up car parking charges, that will be another nail in the coffin for traders and businesses in our city, and we've got to support them. At a cabinet meeting in January, I think it was a council meeting in January, Councillor Wilson, and I think Councillor Patel raised the issue, but Councillor Wilson said, well, actually, if you think car parking is an issue, then put in an amendment, please, would you? And we will look at it. That was in January. So that is exactly what we've done. And I have to say, we are disappointed that it has been refused so far by the administration. The administration would rather put £85,000, which is the cost or the income that would be raised, they would rather put that into their reserves than freeze car parking and support businesses and traders in our city. So, could I urge you please all to reconsider the serious issue of car parking and support our traders, our businesses and footfall and residents in accessing the city centre. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pullen. Thank you so much. I was going to give you some more time to carry on. Thank you. Yeah. Do you want to speak now, or do you want...
Thank you, Madam Deputy
No,
Mayor.
call me what you like.
I'd like to reserve the right, please.
Yeah, OK, dear. Anyone would like to go into a debate at the moment? OK, there, you may. You all right?
Yeah.
You may sit. Do you want that door open behind you to let some air come through?
I just want to say that putting the car parking prices up, like Councillor Pullen said, will destroy Gloucester. If you want to make any money for Gloucester, why don't you knock down the high-rise in King's Home and build proper apartments for the homeless? You're going to get the SIL money and the 106 money from GCH. Surely that'd be easier to get the money from than the car parks.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. It was, like Terry said, we agreed on something we put in the Environmental Crime Officer. They did the same because we noticed that we really, from our Conservative group, we want our residents and our businesses to have pride in this city. And tidying it up, actually doing what we can, because the enforcement, what we hope, is preventative. So once that gets more enforcement going on, it will prevent people, hopefully, from doing it when it gets the message through. When it doesn't, the message doesn't get through, it gets tidied up. But I was really pleased that they were going along the same lines as us on that, because pride in the city is important. And the money for homelessness prevention, you know, the prevention is the key. We don't want to see people on our streets or homeless. We want to help them before they get there. And advice agencies are the place to do that. And I know the funding has been lower over the last few years, but there are pots of money that this council has given them in the past as well to help, particularly with homeless prevention, which is always really important. So I just wanted to say, the whole point that we were looking at was to respond to residents' concerns. And we weren't afraid to look at something that we did do last year with the bins, but think, you know, we were informed it wasn't working financially, it wasn't giving that financial gain. So why even have the policy? It needs to be reversed. It was spending more time in trying to find out what was going on than anything. So that's why we weren't afraid to do that. Now, the car parking charges, yes, we understand that that's a good income for this council, and it's an important income for this council, so we can deliver services, all the services that this council needs to do. But there are really important issues here, because we're not talking about whether this council can afford however much it was to freeze the charges. Was it 85? What we're looking at is priorities. So you've decided that that isn't a priority, but I do think that making this city more attractive for the businesses, for visitors to come here and think, I'm going to potter about in Gloucester, it's not going to cost me over the odds to park today. People that work in the city, because we know that bringing people into work in our city is supporting our local businesses, our traders. They're working, they're picking up their lunch, they're picking up things as they're there. Whenever I'm in town, you always end up picking things up. So it's always good to incentivise people to come into this city. So, but you talked about you're not increasing the budget for the communications. Well, you're not, but well done, you managed to find a saving. You say it's cheaper to bring it in-house, but you don't need to increase the hours. You don't need that. Shared services give added value, I feel, in some ways. So shared services with the county would have had added values of certain expertise amongst a team that we could have always drawn on, but you've decided not to. But so make that saving, put it into car parking, invite people into our city and let the businesses thrive from that, because we'll get the message out to people. It can be a headline, hopefully, and just say, yeah, look, we're freezing car parking charges because we care about our businesses and we care about people using our city. We want people to come to their own city to do their shopping, to buy their uniforms for their children, to go out and enjoy some time in the city. We've got some great new businesses in the city. We've got some new places opening up at the docks here. Let people enjoy it without paying over the odds. So I really appreciate it if you could.
Thank you so much.
Councillor Marshall next.
Okay.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
You're welcome.
So the car parking charges, they do need to be frozen because we're seeing it turn into a ghost town. Pre-COVID, you would go down Northgate Street, you go to Sainsbury's, you pop into Farmhouse. There was so much there. Now it's a ghost town. There's nothing there. And it's just really sad when you walk down there and there's nothing there. And since Farmhouse has shut, after over 50 years, that business has been there. My uncle worked there for many years, and on a personal level, for my family, it's quite sad to see it shut. And it's also an independent business, and it's a family business, and we're driving people out of town. Obviously, there's the deli, but also we need to think about small independent businesses and bringing that community into the city centre. So by freezing car parking charges, it will help that tiny little bit. But unfortunately, we now have competition with the Tewkesbury outlet coming. There's going to be a lot more designer shops. There's going to be duplicate shops. There's going to be duplicate chains. And then when you look at the quays as well, Cote's closing down, TGI's is closing down. You've got the food dock, which is really, really great, but the businesses there, they pay an extra rate, and it's really expensive for them to maintain, to keep opening. And the only way they're keeping their trade is by the students coming into the city. But also, we need to keep this city for everybody, not just students. We need families coming in from outside of the city, from places like Brockworth, Abbeydale. They'll just all shoot off to Cheltenham or Tewkesbury or elsewhere. Thank you.
Okay. Sherby, Councillor Sherby, please.
Thank you. Yeah, so these, well, all these amendments that we've agreed, I'm fully in support of. The prevention service for things such as the CAB, I was already working on a proposal for that anyway, so I'm very pleased that that's included. You've mentioned at ONS that we were sort of overturned. That's not particularly my recollection of the event. We agreed to change from what we were going to what it was going to be turned into, which was HMO accommodation, and if we could find a family, we would put them in there, and we would keep those properties as family accommodation, and that's exactly what we've done. At no point since then have we said we're going to get rid of the properties, and indeed we are holding on to them, and there are currently vulnerable families in there. So in terms of the parking, what I can see here is that we're putting money into advice services, we're putting money into homelessness, but what this amendment wants to do is put money into freezing the car parking, where we could be putting that money into supporting vulnerable residents. I don't particularly see how freezing parking is going to be the solution to best servicing residents and, most importantly, driving sort of inward investment. Whenever I do come in, admittedly, I do have a parking permit, so that does particularly help. But before that, the parking seems to be reasonable when I did have to pay for it. The NCP car parks, however, which, just like the open car park, wildly different than the council ones. My understanding is that we're already lower than lots of the other councils in the area, particularly Cheltenham. And if you go over there, I believe their parking is about £3.10, which is dramatically more than what we're proposing to put it up for. So I think that in freezing the parking charges, what that will do, it won't drive the inward investment that everybody here has been talking about. So I do not think that this amendment is going to deliver exactly what you've all been discussing.
Councillor Patel, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I too also recall that January meeting where Councillor Wilson had said he visited the traders at the indoor markets and he said he wanted to work with them and support the independent businesses. And I think I made a suggestion or a comment about reducing parking charges or increasing parking. Well, it definitely wasn't increasing parking charges. But the point is, on the one hand, you talk about wanting to support businesses, support independent businesses in the city centre, increase footfall. Now, in order to do that, we need to encourage people to get to the city centre. My personal opinion is that we should be scrapping parking charges altogether. People are already paying their road taxes. We want to get people into the city centre, scrap the parking charges altogether, and that's the only thing that's going to work. And for now, freezing the charges is just as good. So I think we should be freezing the parking charges because we want to help us support the businesses. The city centre is in decline, and we need to turn that round. And this is probably one of many ways that we can do that. I did want to mention something else as well. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought.
Senior moment. Give you an extra minute.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, I mean,
Make your point.
At the moment, city centre is not as busy as it used to be, and my colleague behind me has just said that it's turning into a ghost town. Increasing the parking charges will be the final nail in the coffin for the city centre. And let's not go there. Let's turn it around. And the only way we're going to do that is by thinking holistically, thinking out the bigger picture. Let's not take it for granted. All we're doing every time, every year after year, we're taking council tax increase for granted from the taxpayers. We're taking parking charges increases for granted. Everything is taken for granted. Let's not do that. Let's actually, for once, think about the residents out there. Think about the small businesses out there in the city and in the city centre. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Councillor Wilson next.
Councillor Wilson, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Well, I can confirm, I also remember that it was over here in scrutiny, the budget scrutiny meeting, and Saj made the point at the end of the meeting, and I did indeed say, well, if you want to do it, bring in an amendment. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but never mind. But there you go, can't change history. Look, I do have some sympathy for what you're saying, and I can understand the logic behind it, but all I can say is correlation is not necessarily causation. It's not necessarily the case that the reason why the City Council is on its knees is because of the car parks. Now, the thing about it, what we need to remember is our car parks are in a mess. They haven't been looked after for years, and one councillor in particular here, Councillor Chambers, has been continually highlighting that fact. Now, we rely on income from the car parks to do the maintenance for those car parks. Councillor, sorry, Terry, I'm having my own senior moment now. Earlier tonight, he referred to the third quarter financials. Yeah, sure, we are spent, but let's put it this way. We've had to spend around £500,000 so far in surveying and maintenance work on those car parks. That's the reason why we're 230,000 over budget at the minute. There's many other reasons, obviously, of course, but that's one of the big ones. Now, the thing is that when you come into a city, what are you going to remember most? If you go to a car park and it's a real grotty car park falling apart, that's going to give you a very negative impression of the city as a whole. You're going to remember that more than remembering that you had to pay 20 more p for 2 hours than you did this time last year. You won't remember that as much, but you will remember the knackered state of the car park. And we have to fix this, and I'm afraid this is one of the sources we use the income from the car park. We will be using that to improve and do the necessary work to bring those car parks up to scratch. Now, a comment has been made, might as well go to Cheltenham. Well, I don't think people are going to be going to Cheltenham for the car parking charges. I had a look at it tonight. I usually go to George's Street in Cheltenham. 2 hours there costs you £3.40, whereas here it'll cost us £2.70. An all-day ticket in that same car park in Cheltenham is £13 compared to just £8.50 in Gloucester. Gloucester is very competitive compared to other towns and cities in this neighbourhood. Gloucester Quays is also much more expensive. It's 11% more for a 2-hour ticket there, and an all-day ticket is nearly double the price of what it is in our car parks. So we are competitive. Now, when I go to Cheltenham, I don't expect Cheltenham residents to subsidise cheap car parking for me in the same way that I wouldn't expect to subsidise cheap car parking for people outside Gloucester. We can't. The original budget that we presented to Overture Scrutiny is already £88,000 light because of the national insurance contributions. We thought we were being prudent and conservative by estimating 200,000. It turned out it was 112,000. So we need to find that somewhere else. We can't afford to lose anything else. And the last point I'm going to make is that you cannot, on the one hand, complain about the state of our car parks, and then on the other, vote to reduce the money we have to fix them. I'm afraid I don't think the rise is excessive. And the previous administration actually did decide to review these charges every 2 years. So this is the normal 2-year review of the charges, and they won't rise again for at least another 2 years after this. So it's not really, when you talk about freezing the charges, it's not freezing, because inflation is currently 3%, that's a real times cut that you're talking about. And right now we can't afford to do that. We need to improve those car parks. We need to make them better and give a better reflection of our city. And we cannot do that if we keep on cutting back and cutting the income that we get from them. And unfortunately, it's not, and I would challenge the fact that that's the reason why the City Council is struggling at the minute. There are all sorts of other reasons, and it's not necessarily the car parks. And if anything, I would argue it's the dire state of these car parks is a bigger reason for people stopping coming here rather than 20p extra for 2 hours parking. So, thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Andy Lewis. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor, Pam, Sir, God, whatever. I understand about the car parking charges. I really do. But all those charges are ring-fenced for the maintenance of said buildings. Now, as far as I can remember, it was a few years ago now, we spent 8 million on resurfacing the whole of the top of Boots. Right? Now, it ain't that long ago. If there's something wrong with it, get the contractors in and say you didn't do your job properly. That sort of thing. But on the whole, I think just for 1 year we ought to freeze it. Purely to give the optics to everybody in this county and the whole county everywhere to say, Gloucester's a nice cheap place to go. Got the docks we can go down into. Got some lovely, the forum's going to be lovely. Go up in the Sky Bar there and do what like. It's going to be a good place and it's good optics. And the more people you get in, the more money you'll make. So now you can say that they're maybe 3/4 full. Suddenly they're 7/8 full. You paid for it. So I think it's a misnomer to say, we're going to lose the money. I think we'll actually gain money because the Optics Carmelo there will be sending it out. Gloucester's a good place to come and nice and cheap, and it's the cheapest around. Come and shop here. Come and see our wonderful cathedral. Come and do this, come and do that. Go down the docks. Brilliant. So I think the optics would be a lot better. And I think it will drive in people and it'll drive the economy up. And I'm sure as eggs is eggs, the people and the traders and everybody else will be jumping for joy. And it's another little tick and saying how good the council are to the people of Gloucester. I think it's just one of those you could bite the bullet and just go for it.
No.
Feed hold.
Sorry, you say it.
Feed hold.
That's all right. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I regularly come into the city and I pay absolutely nothing for parking because I bring my bicycle. It's a really convenient way to get around the city. Yeah, from Hucklecote to Quedgeley takes you about 20 minutes, honestly. We should be encouraging people to consider alternate ways of getting into the city. It's a great place to come by bike. And I really think we shouldn't be encouraging people to bring their cars here because it's already congested enough out there. Get people in on buses, get them in on taxis. Don't encourage people to come by car.
Councillor Courtney, yeah.
Thank you, Madam. Just wanted to start by saying, just keep it short, keep it to Madam. So just wanted to start by saying, I moved to Gloucester about 8 or 9 years ago now, and I moved here from Cheltenham. Parking charges in Cheltenham were really high. And the first time I had to go into Gloucester to park, I was just amazed by how much cheaper it is to park. Having said that, the condition of the car parks here is doesn't compare so favourably. So personally, and I'm sure probably a lot of people would share the view, that I'd happily pay an extra 20p on my 2 hours of parking to have a much nicer car park that doesn't look so dingy, that doesn't look a bit unsafe in places, that is a nicer parking experience. I'm sorry, Andy, I do respect you, but I don't necessarily agree that if we keep parking charges the same, that people are going to suddenly say, do you know what, parking charges haven't changed. What a brilliant idea, I'm going to start coming into town more. I think if they were happy with the charges, they'd be coming in anyway. But I appreciate the sentiment. But there was just one other thing I wanted to mention while I'm stood, and that's just to correct something that Councillor Pullen said in his opening statement about the public art framework. So it's not correct to say that we don't have any ideas how we would fund the public art. We see a number of opportunities coming up to implement our framework in future developments, such as Greyfriars. We're looking at how we can use programmes like Bright Nights, for example, to commission some semi-permanent works of art rather than just temporary installations. But the main thing is that by having a framework, we can make sure that we are looking out and making the most of those opportunities that come along to commission the public art as and when they arise. Such as for the Docks the 200th anniversary of the Docks that's coming up in 2027. There could be a real opportunity there as well to commission some art for our city. And just to reiterate, really, that this is something that people really care about, public art. We get lots of inquiries from members of the public, from councillors, about could we have a statue to commemorate this. It's something that people would take civic pride in. So it's not a frivolous spend of money, and it's not in this budget either. It's being funded from elsewhere. Thank you.
See no more.
Mr. Chambers, do you wish to speak?
Chambers de Booth, I said.
Oh, Chambers. Alistair.
Thank you, Madam Sheriff, Mayor, second longest serving councillor, Pam Tracy, MBE. Thank you. So I think it's quite ironic, really, that the Lib Dems are saying that free parking's not possible and reducing parking's not going to make a difference. It was only a few months ago that Councillor Declan Wilson, I quote, says, "We're delighted to offer even more free parking to encourage people to enjoy shopping and support retailers in Gloucester this Christmas. Free parking makes it even easier to shop locally, discover unique gifts, and enjoy supporting our local economy. When we shop local, we're investing directly at the heart of our community, helping small businesses thrive and creating a more vibrant and connected place to live." Word for word. Gloucester Business, I'm not going to mention the name because they're not a councillor, manager said, "Small and independent businesses are a lifeline of our city. We need to support them as much as we can throughout the year, and the days like Small Business Saturdays gives us the opportunity to showcase a wonderful array of small businesses we have here in Gloucester." So I'm just wondering what Councillor Declan Wilson's changed his heart over the last 3 months when he put out that press release. I also noticed several times that the City Council do a reduced parking fee, again on their website, quoting investing in the heart of Gloucester and helping rebuild the High Street, and I think they even use the words like revitalising the High Street. It's fantastic stuff, but it's going against what you're saying. And one thing I thought was quite ironic is Councillor Luke Shovey said that why not invest that money saved into poor people and deprived people in the city? Fantastic. How about you give your cabinet money, 24,000 to them instead? I think that'd be better served. No, excuse me. Excuse me, Jeremy. Shush. Shush.
Alistair, speak.
Let me speak, Jeremy.
I will save, and we can get him at the end.
How dare you? How rude. I was going to say, so yeah, another thing to look at is I noticed the climate change has made a £3,000 overspend. That's terrible. And waste recycling in the city has made a £200,000 overspend. What's happening with the environment here going on? There's nearly $250,000 of overspends. The budget set by the Conservatives has been overspent by nearly $250,000 by the Lib Dems. What are you doing? What's going on? Where are you putting this money? Where are you putting this money, Jeremy? Where? So not only that, I made a comment about the glow in the background, the beautiful glow coming off, like nightlife coming off Longstrift car park. And I was told that the lighting was for safety. So I googled a response word, but I won't use the word because I'm learning to be a bit more polite these days. So the words I'm going to use instead is, "That's creative take on the truth. You must have a great imagination." I'm not going to use that one. This one. "Nice try, but I know the real story." So yes, nice try with the lighting. No, it's not about safety, because there's 80 lights on the on the floors that aren't open, and those lights are all on. But the lights in the baby and toddlers, there's a lot less. I think there's even half on. So if it's for safety in the areas that are closed off, what's happening with the poor babies and toddlers? Don't you care about them? But what about the children? What about the children, Cabinet Member for Environment? Come on, let's get it together. So I think this is a fantastic response by Labour, absolutely fantastic. Terry Pulling's really cooking on fire today. I think it's amazing what they've brought on. Congratulations to every single Labour member here for these fantastic amendments. I wholeheartedly support them. I think it's fantastic for the city, fantastic, and I think congratulations to the Labour Party for bringing around these fantastic amendments that I'm sure all parties, rainbow colour, even the Liberals might not sit on their hands this time and think, you know, we're going to support what Declan Wilson said, we're going to support the High Street, we're going to put the lifeblood in it, word for word. Declan's not going to go back on his words from 3 months ago. Only 3 months ago, Declan, come on, mate. Don't change. You're not twisting around that much, are you? So basically, let's all support this. I think it's a great thing, and very kind of you, Luke Sherby, to donate your cabinet member money. Oh, one last thing. We've got 53 seconds left. What's quite funny is everyone here gets free parking as a councillor. You all get your free badges, you all get your free parking, yeah? And you're here voting to put prices up for people that don't have to pay, for people that do have to pay, while you're sitting on your free badges. And I've got an officer here. I've only just emailed them about my parking thing because I haven't used it all year, and I've actually picked up about 3 parking fines, which I wasn't very happy about. And the bailiff turned around the other day. That's not very nice. For parking fines for me parking in the city. Yeah, I did have a knock on the door, look around, there's a bailiff, and he said, "Oh, you haven't paid for your parking fine." So I've actually picked up and supported parking more than you guys. In fact, you've all been parking for free. Well, I've been paying your bills. So come on, be fair, support the public. Don't sit on your free cash cow, free passes. Let's support the public. They have to pay. You guys should be paying too.
Thank you, Alistair Chambers. Well done. Councillor Condo.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I believe Councillor Chambers has just implied, inferred or insinuated that all council members who have free parking are using it for their personal purposes. I walk into town when I'm shopping. I only drive here in the evening in order to get home quickly after a meeting, which is being unduly delayed by Councillor Chambers, I think. Would he like to take back the implication that he's just made that we use our permits for personal parking, for shopping, etc. in the city, please?
No, thank you.
Just a moment. I'm in charge.
Oh, sorry.
Please, just stay there a minute.
I have finished.
No. Thank you, Treat. Would you like to sum up, please? Then we'll go over to you, Councillor Hilton.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Right, okay.
Thank you.
This thing about parking. Yes, it's going to cost money that we will not be getting in revenue. But part of the responsibility of the council is to support hard-working people, support the creation of jobs in our community, support people's well-being, being in a more pleasant place and things like that. By putting up the parking charges, we are not doing that. What are we giving to the businesses that work in the town? What hope are we giving them? Very, very little. You know, by improving, by freezing the parking charges, dropping is a wish, isn't it? Freezing the parking charges for a year and reviewing it after the year, hopefully it will bring more people into the city centre for one thing or another. That in turn will encourage people maybe to come and work and to open shops and businesses in the city centre. Less empty shops equals more people. More people equals less mess and problems in the city centre that you get when buildings start to fall into neglect. So it's a win-win from that perspective. You know, once Meek's shoe shop is closed, other than Shoe Zone, we do not have one shoe shop in Gloucester. There is nowhere that you can go to buy your child a pair of quality shoes for school in Gloucester anymore. We are the county town. It's a travesty that we've got to that point. And on that point, you know, you compare that our parking is a lot less than Cheltenham. Yes, it is. But a lot less doesn't mean people are going to pay it to come to a city which quite frankly, is becoming more and more full of nothing. So, you know, we need to think about those things. We maybe need to speculate to accumulate here. And, you know, for people who are quick and get in and look around, there are cheap parking options now. And those, we'll end up with more and more and more of those in Gloucester. You know, the little NCPs, what is it, £1 for an hour or something, £4 for the day. And, you know, I just generally think you're looking at things the wrong way round here. Having beautiful, nice car parks does not bring people into an empty city. Having a really good city that people want to come to is going to help fund and facilitate those car parks and make them better for people. So, yeah, I really, really hope that people feel that they can support this motion. Thank you.
OK. Councillor Hilton, would you like to reply?
I find the hypocrisy of the Labour group in moving this amendment to the budget, which will cost this council £85,000 in net income to support the revenue budget at a time when their government has squeezed us to the pip and is doing as much damage as they possibly can to this city council and every other district council. And what even gets my goat even more is when we get emails in from the Member of Parliament, can we give some money for this project? Can we give some money for this project? What about him getting some money for this council? So you're now costing this council by passing your amendment, and quite clearly it looks like it's going to do that. I do recommend that people oppose the amendment, and it's going to cost us £85,000 a year. That's lost income, and we're going to get from these people over here who are going to vote for this freezing of the car parking charges complaints that Longsmith car park needs upgrading, this needs work, that needs work, and we've got to cover the pots. You know, the audacity of Saj Patel to suggest we don't charge anything for our car parks. How does he think it's going to be made? We get an income of £2 million. If you want to support that sort of proposal, you really would put this council into a Section 114 notice. We'd be bankrupt because we wouldn't be able to find the cost of doing it, because we'd have to get it from the taxpayers, from the Gloucester taxpayers, and we'd have to have a referendum and whack up the council tax to an astronomical level in order to give you Saj Patel's free parking all year round. Utter nonsense, and this is a bit of grandstanding by you all. I mean, it's £2.50 going up to £2.70 for just 2 hours to park in the Eastgate shopping centre. It's going to be £3 if you want to park in Gloucester Quays. It's more expensive. Oh, you want to go to Cheltenham? It's £3. Oh, you get free parking at Cribbs Causeway or Tewkesbury. What do you think it'll cost? What do you think it'll cost in petrol and wear and tear on your car to go to Cribbs Causeway? I never go to Cribbs Causeway because I walk into town and do the shopping. And if I need to go to Cheltenham because I can't get shoes at Clark's any longer, then I'll get on the bus. And the bus prices have gone up. Fortunately, I've got a concessionary bus pass, but they've gone up from £2 to £3 because the Labour Party have decided to charge people more. But oh no, we've got to give all these people in their SUVs who live in the Cotswolds or live in the outskirts of Gloucester cheap parking while we pay the cost. The taxpayers in Gloucester will have to pay the cost of your £85,000. And the audacity of Councillor Marshall to say this is a ghost town. You want to walk around the city centre, because I do every day. I know Rebecca does with taking the dog for a walk. I walk round there. I go to Shire Hall. It is not a ghost town. It's full of a lot of people. The problems of Northgate Street is one that we're addressing. Sainsbury's pulled out. I was the one campaigning along with Councillor Chimnall. We were campaigning to keep it open. And then, of course, the most recent thing is that Wilkinson's have gone bust. And that's why it's empty. It's nothing to do with this council. It's to do with the business operations that are operating there. And the farmhouse is still in Gloucester. What they've done is a sensible thing. They've concentrated on their Southgate Street thing. Because one, it's right near a city council car park, and it's right near the Eastgate shopping centre. No, I'm getting annoyed with them. 425,000 over 5 years. They're going to cost. Labour's going to cost. This is an example how Labour can't add up. They just want to grandstand and pretend it's going to cost nothing. It's going to cost £425,000 unless next year Terry decides to double the rise that we might get in our car parking charges. Yeah, he's bust, that's it. No, I've not. No, I've not. I'm just looking at some other things. And overspends on this year's budget. Why do you think that is? Because the Tories couldn't do the blooming calculations properly. We're dealing with their budget which wasn't set properly. Why? Because they fiddled it like you want to fiddle our budget. You want to fiddle our budget and cost us £85,000 a year. £85,000 you want to cost this council.
10
Crazy.
seconds.
No. But I've just got a couple of other things. Oh yeah, the strategy for the public art, that's funded £20,000 by community infrastructure levy. We've already paid for that programme, so we've already done that. They're working up the public art strategy, and I think that's about it. Oh, the £85,000 you're wanting to save is the equivalent of 2 pence or 2% on the council tax. So you are wrecking the council's budget. You're making it difficult at a time when your government is starving us of money.
Down. No, finish off while you're sat down then. Thank you so much, Councillor Hilton.
Okay, right, we now move
for,
to the amendment.
We now move to the vote on the amendment, please, for the Labour Party.
Those in favour?
Those in favour? All those against?
That
amendment is carried. Council, just a moment. I think you've all been very, very good and very patient. Should we just adjourn for 10 minutes? Yeah. Do you want to crack on? Do anybody? Yeah, I think that the people I can see are sagging a bit, and we need our brains alert. So I'm going to say, and I'm not going to ban that because we don't need it. Let's adjourn for 2 hours.
10 minutes. 10 minutes.
Just checking that you're still ticking in. Right, 10 minutes, starting now. To your budget, please.
Thank you, Deputy Madam Mayor. So firstly, thank you very much to the Lib Dem administration, Jeremy and Declan, following the meeting, to agree the play park refurbishment of £15,000 at Grange, and also the well-needed green gym, £35,000 for Matson, Robinswood, White City, Ward. Absolutely fantastic. It comes with a trail as well as part of the budget. So it's like I don't know if you remember growing up, going over to Stroud Park, and they had the little trail where you could like run around and do little activities and go for a run and you like do a circuit. So it's that, and then you've got like a green gym for the adults as well. So that's really, really cool. The water foundation fountains as well, 10 grand. I appreciate that's something the Lib Dems were sort of doing anyway, but it's a really good thing getting fresh water out, especially with the homeless people. In town, give them a source of fresh water to get to. Cleaning fresh water is a really good thing. It probably reduced the need for other drinks. But one thing that is kind of worrying is that the amount of overspend by the Lib Dem administration, the budget was set by the Conservatives, and the overspend was nowhere near what it was with the Lib Dems. So I'll just quickly run through some of them. Overspend on Guildhall, 34,000. Overspend on events, 125,000. Overspend on leisure, 28,000. Overspend on planning, 196,000. Overspend on heritage, 30,000. Overhead spend on parks and countryside, 13,000. Overspend on environment, climate change, 3,000. Overspend on environment, waste and recycling, 200,000. licensing overspend £4,000, housing overspend £18,000, markets overspend £128,000, crematorium overspend £283,000, commercial property where you should be bringing in revenue in, commercial property the council owns, you should be bringing in money, but it was a £266,000 overspend. Asset management, £295,000 overspend. Parking, overspend. IT, £56,000 overspend. Revs and bends, £4,000 overspend. So yeah, and there is still other overspends that aren't listed because we don't want to be here all day. So what I'm asking for is the overspend for Guildhall, events and leisure, equals the same amount it would cost to freeze council tax. Believe that or not. The overspend on the Guildhall, yeah, the Marketing Gloucester thing that the councils then took over out there doing the tall ships. So the tall ships, Guildhall, and the overspend on the leisure as well, is the same amount to the £1,000 of if you cut council tax for the increase. Think of that. That's how much overspend it is just in culture alone. Benefits of cutting council tax. It's a cost of living crisis, so that difference in money will help people. Add that with the struggling rising costs of food. Energy cost increase, we've all felt that. Rent cost increase. Council tax increase will add further burden, especially to those of impoverished and families in deprivation. The Office of National Statistics stated that inflation on energy costs have significantly impacted low-income families. So a freeze, what a freeze would do, it would give economic relief to allocate funds from people in deprivation to food and rent. The LGA has also acknowledged that rising council tax can disproportionately affect those on fixed incomes, such as pensioners and people on low income. Also, if you freeze council tax, money is going to be spent locally, so it's going to help local businesses. There's going to be more money spent in the local community, and it's going to help boost local businesses that need it. So on that basis, I hope you will support freezing council tax and look at the... it is a feasible option. It's not a lot of money, but it will make a big difference to a lot of people that do need it. Not only that, green bin waste freezing. I think that's really important. You've got the summer coming up. We've got a lot of people trying to keep the city looking tidy, gardens, cleaning and whatnot. To put the cost up of green bins, again, is disproportionate. You've got low-income families that have got a garden. They're going out there trying to keep it clean and tidy, but they can't afford the bin. It's unfair. You're putting them in a position where their garden's not going to look as nice, it's not going to be as kept, because they literally purely can't afford a bin that most people here can afford it. So I do ask that you think of those in our city that are struggling, those in our city that those extra few pounds will make a difference between feeding their family. And that might sound over the top, but it's not. We've seen it ourselves firsthand regularly in the areas we serve. And there's a lot of people that literally call us up begging for food vouchers, and it's really, really hard, and it's not a nice thing to see. So I doubt you will support it. I doubt you'd rather support the event out there where everyone's spending lots of money going to see the tall ships, rather than supporting low-income deprived families, which you could support instead of marketing Gloucester's abortion that you've took on. You know, it's absolutely horrific. It's a disgusting thing that the City Council's taken on, the tall ships and hemorrhaging so much money. It's not a good thing. And then to carry that on is absolutely horrific. It's not good at all. It's really, really unfair to those in our community that are really struggling. So I'm not going to talk the clock down like Jeremy Plessmore. I'm just going to leave it at that. I just ask that you look to support them and rather support the people in need rather than supporting those that want to go look at some big tall ships and spend lots of money doing it at the cost of those in our community that are poor. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have we a seconder for that, please? Thank you. Do you want to speak or are you going to hold?
I'll hold, please.
I'll go first, since most of the comments were directed at the culture portfolio. I'm not going to go over old ground talking about the reasons for why. the overspend on the tall ships, it wasn't an overspend, it was just a lack of sufficient income to cover the overall cost. But I don't want to go over all that again today. It's been well documented, well discussed in the past. What I would say is that we really shouldn't be underestimating the impact that culture and leisure has on not just the health and well-being of our residents, but also on the financial well-being of our economy. Recently, there was some research commissioned by the Department for Culture, Media and Sport, which indicated that engaging with culture and heritage brings societal benefits that are worth around £1,000 per person per year to society. And these benefits include better physical and mental health. That then leads to lower healthcare costs. It leads to increased productivity due to better health. And at a population level, this equates to around £8 billion per year. Nationally, as well, the creative industries generate over £124 billion in economic value, and they employ 2.4 million people. So culture and leisure isn't just about having a jolly time and spending lots of money. It's really important to people's well-being and to our economy as well. And just to briefly touch on the Tall Ships Festival, although, yes, we had a deficit of as a result of the ticket income not being as high as we'd needed it to be, we did actually demonstrate that there was a total visitor spend of £337,000 as a result of the festival, in addition to the income that was raised at the festival itself. So it might have taken a hit in our financial accounts, but certainly in the local economy, it did provide a boost.
Councillor Wilson, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. That was an interesting speech there, and notice that Councillor Chambers started off talking about the Q3 financial reports. I'm just looking at the report there now. 30,000 improvement on the last quarter. Yes, we're 232,000 worse than budget, but as we know, we've spent, as I said earlier on, around 500,000 unbudgeted for repairs and maintenance on the city's car parks. Thanks to you highlighting it to the council. But that, yeah, safety concerns, and I'm not saying that's wrong. I'd say thank you very much. But the point I'm making is that if we're spending 500,000 there, and we're only 232,000 worse than the budget, that means there must be an awful lot of favourable variances there in between, but you seem to have left all those out. But nonetheless, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about this mad notion, freezing the council tax. And you talk about how that will give people a big economic boost, etc. That would give residents in a brand new property 57p a month extra in their pocket, £6.90 a year. Nice to have, I agree. But the problem is, if you put this through tonight, it's not 195,000. It's 195,000 this year. It's nearly 400,000 next year. It's nearly 600,000 the year after, and so on. And ultimately, by the time we get to this 5-year plan, it will have cost us £1 million, because the government, as you know, it bases its what grant it's going to give us by how much, by making the assumption that we raise the council tax at the highest level permissible. So we wouldn't be able to raise it more than 2.99% next year. If we were to do that. So that 195,000 is lost this year, next year and the year after. I've looked at the latest projections on the 5-year plan as a result of the amendments we've made tonight. We started the night off with 608,000 in the general fund next year. That's now down to 330,000. Putting this amendment through will bankrupt us, literally. We're into Section 114 territory. We will have busted the council, and I would not advise people to vote for that. And you would probably be legally liable for putting the council into administration if you were to do that. So I would advise you not to do that. The only other thing I'm going to say, I can't remember, I'm having one of Sages, or Sages. It's better, well, it probably is actually, yeah. Look, it's a mad suggestion. Please don't do it. We've already taken enough hits, and as things stand, we're one cyber incident away from bankruptcy as a result of the decisions that were taken earlier on tonight. So to do this would give us a certain bankruptcy, and any councillor worth the salt who really cared about the city would not vote for that. So I'd urge people to chuck this amendment out. Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't say your name, did I? No.
Deputy Mayor. I just want to make a point that what Councillor Wilson said is for real. It's really, really serious. Okay? And I think that everybody should really take this into consideration. I don't stand up and speak very often, but this would be a disaster for the city if we don't really think hard and careful about this. So just, really just stop and think about what you're doing tonight. I'm not joking around, it's serious. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Oh, Councillor Condon.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I'd just like to clarify for Councillor Chambers' benefit, although I shouldn't have to because this is his specialist subject, that he mentioned the planning department losing money. Planning fees are set by central government. We have no control. We make more money out of larger developments, and most domestic applications lose money as far as the council is concerned, and he will know that.
Thank you. Anyone else to add to the debate, please? Yes, okay, tell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think some of the proposals by the independents are very interesting. Certainly the council tax one. I was happy for council tax to be, parking charges to be frozen or even reduced. It's a very interesting idea and suggestion. And on another given day, I may be willing to consider supporting that. I think now, considering the seriousness of the situation, it would put the council in and the taxpayers of this city. We wouldn't be doing them service if we went down that route. Let's be serious here. We've got to do what's right for our city, and we've got to do what's right for the people of Gloucester. And I think what the opposition, what the leadership have realised now, is that they've got to listen to us. They've got to listen to the opposition. All these meetings, cabinet meetings and scrutiny meetings, treating us with arrogance and attitude is unacceptable. And I think you need to learn that. You need to tone it down a bit and treat us with dignity and respect so we can all work together and do what's best for the city. If a member wants to speak about homelessness at a cabinet meeting, let the member speak. It's a serious issue. People sleeping rough on the streets of this city. To not give them the decency and the time to have their say, I think it's absolutely unacceptable and outrageous. So, reality check, wake up, work with us, and we can work together. And that's what we're all here for at the end of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Chambers? Debuse. Sorry. Tree.
Thank you, Deputy Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
I'm not laughing at your motion, your amendment, because it's good. And, I know it's something you've been very passionate about for quite some time. It's just a real shame that financially the council is in the position it's in. Whether that's through frivolous spending and wastage, I'm not going to comment on. I don't know enough about that side of that, but the point is, if that is the case, a lot of that has already happened. We can't claw that back. I do think that green waste and things, it can be an issue. And I think maybe we need to think outside the box with it a little bit more. Now, whilst it obviously won't suit anyone, and I do believe that somewhere in Matson...
Do you want to share the joke? All right, carry on.
I believe that somewhere in Matson they already do this. Perhaps it's worth looking at trying to extend community composting, with the community then being able to have the composted material back to give them the incentive to go and dump in their community compost. Because, granted, people like like to get something back, and compost is an expensive thing if you're making your garden nice. So that, yeah, that could be another option where it wouldn't take up people's gardens. So perhaps that's something worth looking at in the future. I don't know. It's...
Right.
Councillor Stephanie Chambers.
Yeah, please. Stephanie.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Again, I see where these amendments are coming from. The green bin, free waste bins, I've sort of voiced my opinion on a few times before, and I think it is a good idea because people want to keep their gardens tidy. However, I've also said the same as Councillor Trees-to-Boos, that community composting could hopefully be a way forward, particularly in Matson, but because they have a lot of green space, and I know it's more difficult in some other areas, but possibly maybe the council can look at some of their pieces of land. They've got some small land. It would mean they didn't have to cut it anymore. They could set up a few community composting. That would be a good thing to look at. In relation to the council tax freezing, again, as my colleague, Councillor Saj Patel said, I think we do need to have a little bit of responsibility in ensuring this council can continue onwards. We don't like to put council taxes up for anybody. Nobody wants to see increased prices. But in order to deliver the vital and statutory services, this council is under an obligation really to do that, which is difficult to bear because when we're putting council tax up, you know, residents, we're all residents as well, aren't we? All our bills are going up all at the same time, and it is difficult for everybody, and we do acknowledge that. However, for just some corporate responsibility, we won't be supporting that today.
Councillor Chambers. Councillor Puller, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
You may speak.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I appreciate the issue and I appreciate the points that have been made, but just on a technicality, the budget that we set tonight is reliant on council tax. It's as simple as that. All of the budgets, all of the amendments that we've moved tonight are reliant on council tax. You're quite right to raise concerns about people who struggle with council tax, but let's not forget there is a council tax relief fund for those people who can't afford it, and we're really pleased that that scheme has been carried forward again this year. This Labour group, and I don't apologise for this, this Labour group cannot and will not bankrupt this council.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I sit.
Sheriff, yeah. So what I want to say, come back to Chambers to Boos. We've tried the community green composting. Wasn't very successful. We have got a couple in Matson, but it's trying to get the people that really need to look after their gardens to use it. That's the problem we have it. And I know of late my favourite saying has been burn it. Hence the nickname Bonfire Brendan from Councillor Field, which I quite like. But people do, they will burn it.
One moment, just one moment. No, I don't think you would have done that, and I'm with you. Should we carry on? Just carry on.
I refute that because that comment. It was in the press.
Yeah.
Right with that?
It's in the press. Printed.
Yeah, but yeah.
Well, anyway, I'm not moaning about it. I like it. It's fine. But
Yeah, just one moment. So you know, let's all be nice. Now, if that's supposed to be in the press, we've got a press man over there. But the fact is, yes, it's Carmen's fault.
I quite like the nickname.
I'm sure. Can we just say, you know, take that out? It don't matter what the press says. Sometimes they don't say it right.
Well,
Should we just delete it?
I've said it, so I can't take
Can
it
we
back.
delete
the branded Bonfire Brendan headlines. Here you go.
All right.
The article.
Okay.
Anyway. Anyway.
Carry on.
I like the names, it doesn't bother me, but the council tax, I understand, has got to go up. As much as I hate that idea, I know it's got to go up because I didn't realise the council was that seriously near bankruptcy. So I understand that's got to go up. The green waste, I think, if we start putting up more, it's going to put more people off. We've got housing associations trying to charge people communal cleaning fees that haven't got communal spaces. And they're making all their tenants across the board try and pay for that. And then on top of that, they're getting caught up in a really bad situation where they haven't done their garden, so it's neglected grounds. Then they're being bollocked for that, and then the green bins they can't afford and nothing's getting done. So I do tell people in Matson and Robbinswood Roy City to burn their rubbish. If they can't get rid of it, I'd rather see them burn it in a bin, in a bonfire bin. Yeah, the green rubbish in the bin, and burn it, because at the end of the day, it's going to get dumped somewhere. So I think the green bin should be frozen, and I think sticking it up now is just going to alienate more and more people. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we get a response?
No, Councillor Hilton to sum up.
Excuse me, Councillor, I'm not happy with saying burn.
Yeah, can I just first of all say that we were pleased to support the reasonable amendments that we got from the independent group, but not these two, purely because they're again going to impact on the revenue budget substantially, one of the ones. And we know Council's already agreed to impact on the revenue budget by 85,000, and we are getting to the point where just adding to that is just going to make it difficult. And when we get criticised as administration for overspending, and we might have problems next year, don't blame us when the figures are affected. So, but the issue on the council tax, no, this is just being put because Councillor Chambers wants to stick it on his leaflets for the election to Gloucestershire County Council in a few weeks. But what I find hypocritical, and I've used that word twice this evening, is that Councillor Chambers wants to freeze the council tax on this council that is really got a tight budget and we need to keep it solvent. But he was quite happy to vote at Gloucestershire County Council for a 5% increase in council tax. And I'll tell you he did, because I watched him say for the budget. I made sure I watched him because he was just 2 chairs away from me, and I saw him say it. And it'll be on videogram. So what's the difference between Gloucestershire County Council and Gloucester City Council? He just likes to behave a bit more irresponsibly at the City Council than he does at Gloucestershire County Council. And when you look about the spending of local government, 80% of local government is the county council's charge, and 20% is the district council. The amount of money that we would lose would put this council, and the monitoring officer would have to say, not the section 151 officer would have to say we need to have an adjournment because we are just about to put the council into bankruptcy, and that would be a very risky thing to do. Now, as far as the green bins, we've been here, it's going to be a small increase on them. This is not a statutory service, it's a service that you can buy into. It shouldn't be funded by increases in council tax or a percentage of council tax for a lot of people that live in apartments and other places where they do not have gardens where they need the green bin. Most of the people that will have the green bin and pay for it live in properties with pretty large gardens, and they find it an easier way to deal with their green waste, to put it in one of these and have it collected every couple of weeks. But you can use compost bins. The compost bins are easy to buy, £10–15, or you can build your own one from bits of old wood or whatever it is to create your own compost bin, and you can deal with a lot of your garden waste that way. So we do need to make sure that this council budget is sound, and therefore I do request that members reject these amendments. The independent group have had a general generous support from the administration in supporting 3 of their amendments, and I think that's enough. We're at a point of having a balanced budget at this point in time, but any further amendments which start to eat into the revenue budget, we are putting this council into a serious financial situation, and particularly the one with regard to the council tax. And I think when you do one thing at one authority, then you do something completely at another authority. I just wonder.
Thank you, Councillor Hilton. I'm afraid we'll have to go straight to the vote, please.
Okay, and we're voting on each amendment in turn.
We're voting on each amendment in. First vote, freezing the council tax.
Those in favour?
Are those in favour?
1, 2, 3. Those against? That's lost.
Lost, right. Freezing garden waste charges.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, may I say something?
You may, just quick.
Thank you. I quote, Cabinet Member for Environment says, if you follow Bonfire's Brendan's advice, it's in the paper.
Yeah, all right,
it's in the paper. I'm forwarding it to everyone.
Now on the budget, okay?
On the substantive budget. Does anyone wish to
Substantive
speak?
budget.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. There was just something, and I was writing notes and I covered it up with my laptop, so I missed a piece, but there was an accusation from the administration that we fiddled the books, Leader. So I would...
That's what he said.
That is quite a serious accusation, and as we don't physically do the books ourselves, and you know very well it's officers that do the books, are you now accusing officers of fiddling the books? Because I'm absolutely 100% sure that they don't. I'm absolutely 100% sure that none of us are ever instructed that. So I just wanted to know where that kind of opinion come from. Thank you.
Definitely. Tree.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Pam. The situation is what it is. But what I would really like to say at this point is, you know, we have got a rocky road ahead of us financially. There is no disputing that. Doesn't matter who to blame when we think about the fact that that is the situation. We can't change that. But you know what? I know that with the courage and the tenacity of all the officers that we have and all the other council members and that Gloucester grit, we will get through this. You know, we can do the best that we can do and we'll do it well.
Any other debate on the substantive budget?
Right. Anyone else like to come in on a debate on this one? No?
In which case...
Councillor Hilton, would you like to sum up there?
I ask members of this council to now vote for the budget, and at least we've got one that is stable. Yes, let's just hope we can do well over the next 12 months with this budget. I hope every member of the council will vote for it.
Right.
It's a recorded vote.
Yeah, yeah.
So I will read out
Right.
the names.
Okay, everyone. Now we're going to record this vote, okay? Time starts now.
Thank you, Deputy Madam Mayor. I will read out your names. In turn, if you could say for, against or abstain on the substantive budget. Councillor Tracy.
For. No, am I sorry?
Councillor-
Against, sorry. Sorry?
It's her. It's,
Abstains, yes, sorry. Well, I didn't know I thought I was waiting to go down to the T's.
Councillor Hilton.
Sorry. Jeremy?
Oh, just 4.
Wilson.
4.
Courtney.
4.
Field.
4.
Sawyer.
4.
Shervey. Trimnell. Stephanie Chambers.
Abstain.
Pullen.
4.
Alistair Chambers. Gravels.
Abstain.
Lewis.
Abstain.
Barmia.
4.
Patel. Brooker. Hyman.
4.
Boquet.
4.
Castle. Chambers de Boos.
4.
Conda.
4.
O'Donnell. Radley.
4.
Graham. Harries. Highland. James.
4.
Jones.
4.
Marshall.
4.
Millard.
4.
Miller.
Abstain.
Sims.
4.
Taylor.
4.
Walker.
Abstain.
Vidahold.
4.
How many should there be? 35, because that was the bill. 35, yeah? Okay. Right, those are yours.
For 23, against 0, and abstentions 12. The budget is carried. Yeah, I wish you luck for the coming year, that we all work together. Right, now we'll move on to council tax settings. It won't be long now, so we won't ask for a call.
Councillor Hilton has to move it.
Right, Councillor Hilton, you're in the chair.
Yeah, this is the agenda item number 9, and this is basically to approve the calculations that Section 151 officer has made in calculating how much each house band should be charged. And this is based on the budget we've just passed, the budget that the County Council passed, and their precept. Similarly for the Police and Crime Commissioner, his budget in his precept, and also for those who live in Quedgeley, for the precept that Quedgeley Town Council has made. So in other words, this is a technical motion. It's about making sure that the calculations that the finance service for us have got it right, and we will then collect the tax and then pay for our services and pay for the services of the other authorities that have put a precept on it. So I would encourage everyone to vote for this basic calculation. It's not an issue about whether or not you support any of the budgets. It's about a technicality on whether you agree to our finance officers' calculations on what they need to collect.
Thank you, Councillor Hilton. Do you have a seconder, please? All right, debate.
Does he want to speak?
Really quickly, council tax setting, I thought it was quite ironic really, that the Lib Dems that were all here last year and the year before voted against the freezing of council tax. The reason being is the very wording, I used that amendment, the very wording, word for word, was copied and pasted from the Lib Dems running up to the election in 2021, where they did electioneering to post on all their posts and all their leaflets to say that they voted to freeze council tax and they voted to freeze bins. So the council tax settings, ironic, really, that half the Lib Dems that were here last year, and the year before, and the year before that voted for it, now voted against it. It's ludicrous, really. And it just shows that I just did that. I knew it wouldn't go through. I did that to prove a point that you guys only vote on what you think is going to win you the election. Embarrassing.
I feel I have to respond to that. Councillor Chambers' motion that he put forward in question, it quoted 2021 numbers, where the general fund was 1.4 million. If you put that number into the Bank of England inflation calculator, that comes up to 1.7 million, which is considerably more healthy position than where we are today. Since then, that motion went through council. We had the cyber attack, which cost us 890,000. We had the sudden rise in homelessness and temporary accommodation crisis, which cost us, well, I'm not quite sure how much that cost us yet. On the unprecedented levels of inflation we saw from 2021 onwards. So therefore, that freeze in 2021 would not have bankrupted the council. It would have reduced the general fund a bit, but it wouldn't have done anywhere near the damage that yours would have done tonight. So I totally refute what you've just said in your... And actually, I'm going to quote back from Councillor Chambers from the motion he put, an amendment he put before budget last year. It was to do with the Guildhall, I believe. And this paragraph I will quote. It is imperative that the council is financially well and spending taxpayers' money correctly. If a private business was trading at a loss, they have a legal responsibility to close the business, and that's exactly what you voted for tonight. So thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor.
You're welcome, Councillor Wilson. The debate now, please.
Okay, Councillor Hilton to sum up, if he wishes.
Councillor Hilton.
No, I think Declan's put Alistair Chambers in his place and rather embarrassed him.
Recorded vote again.
Recorded vote, okay. And I realise I'm on the top now. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. This is also required to be a recorded vote, so I will read out your names and ask you if you are for, against or abstain the resolution to approve the statutory council tax resolutions set out in Appendix 1 of the addendum report. Councillor Tracy.
For.
Hilton.
For.
Wilson.
For.
Courtney.
For.
Field.
For.
Sawyer. Shervey.
For.
Trimnell.
For.
Stephanie Chambers.
For.
Pullen.
For.
Alistair Chambers.
Abstain.
Gravels.
For.
Lewis.
For.
Barmier.
For.
Patel.
For.
Brooker.
For.
Hyman.
For.
Boquet.
For.
Castle.
For.
Chambers de Boos.
For.
Conda.
For.
O'Donnell.
Abstain.
Radley.
For.
Graham.
Abstain.
Harries.
For.
Highland.
For.
James.
For.
Jones.
For.
Marshall.
For.
Millard.
For.
Miller.
For.
Sims.
For.
Taylor.
For.
Walker.
For.
Federhold.
For.
Right, 4, 32, against 0, abstentions 3.
That's carried.
Thank you, all's carried.
And that's the end of the meeting.
Right, end of our council tax meeting for another year. And thank you all so much for your indulgence and everything else. And let's hope we can be a happy council with the coming. Oh, yeah, well, we try to keep it like that. But anyhow, see you at the next council meeting. God